In HYBE's recent community showcase, they had a lot to say and show about what will be coming in the next year. Among all of the things that they did talk about, there was something I found really interesting that they focused on a lot, and that was the idea of story. This focus on a mixing between story and artists is something that they're trying to focus on. And not only has this been confirmed for HYBE based in Korea, but it's also apparently something that might be happening in HYBE America as well. So I'm interested to see how that's going to be integrated. Now, this shift into something more story focused has been a long time coming. They've definitely been leading up to it, especially with groups like TXT, who've had several story-based cinematic music videos. And they recently swapped their name TXT Universe to the STARSEEKERS, which we'll talk about a little bit today. And of course, ENHYPEN also got a name for their story, which is the Dark Moon. However, in an exciting turn of events, we learned that HYBE is planning to release some webtoons for these stories and more that we hadn't yet seen. These will be released in collaboration with Naver Webtoon and, of course, Wattpad. And the reason for this is because Naver bought Wattpad. Anyways, each of the participating artists will have their own story and, like, webtoon comic to go along with it. So in theory, their songs, some of their music videos might go along with this webtoon as a way to, like, enhance the experience. And this is just really exciting for us because that means that a lot of the content that we've gotten up till this point in varying universes will finally get some definitive answers. Because, like, sometimes it's vague or the story's out of order, or it's missing, like, huge pieces and huge chunks. So it'll be really nice and exciting to finally see some of that come together a little bit more. Anyways, so now that we've talked about the webtoons, we've set that all up, let's look at what these webtoons actually are and some thoughts that I have surrounding it, some possible theories. First though, let's start with the STARSEEKERS. So the STARSEEKERS universe has been already fairly well established at this point. Like I said, it's associated with TXT, or Tomorrow by Together. In fact, some of TXT's earliest content was branded with the then logo for TXT Universe, which was like a +U. As I mentioned, this recently changed to the STARSEEKERS, which is exactly what this webtoon is about. So they summarized TXT's story so far in the presentation. You know, the boys are idols who discover and awaken their magical abilities in a world where magic and reality mix. A lot of fantasy-based elements, several of which we've seen depicted before, such as in their animation that they came out with recently, The Doom's Night, and of course several of their longer cinematic music videos, like Eternally. TXT story is a coming-of-age story about growing up and providing, like, a relatable experience, but in a fantastical way, to teens and young adults and people who are coming into society and who are, like, unhappy with it or resistant to it, or who are worrying about our future as humanity. Now, I've personally covered TXT's story a lot. That's what the basis of this channel was built on. So yeah, I'm really excited to see this as a webtoon. And it gives me hope that they'll even consider turning it into a game. I know BTS is working on a game, and I'm not going to go into that here, but it would be cool to see TXT's story integrated into a game because I think it would work really well. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Back to the webtoon. The webtoon looks gorgeous. I assume this is actually concept art and not necessarily exactly what the webtoon's going to be looking like, but it looks amazing. Going into the images that they showed, I think it's important to note that a lot of TXT's, like, setting is based in a magical realm that seems inspired by the game Dungeons and Dragons. So for example, we see this archer character in the concept images, and you know, that's probably Subin. Like, I'm 110% certain that that is Subin because he is an archer and we've already found out that he's an archer. And you know, Yeonjun's there and he'll apparently forever have blue hair, which is iconic. And in these webtoon images, we also see several, like, mystical creatures or fantastical creatures, which we've seen sort of hinted at before. Previously, the fandom called them Patronuses, based off of Harry Potter's Patronus, because their whole, like, second album, The Dream Chapter Magic, was basically, like, heavily referencing Harry Potter, so we've just kind of stuck to that theme, I think. And also in the Doom's Night, when we last saw them, they were, like, bluish colors, similar to that of a Patronus. Here, however, they're in full color, and they seem to be, like, real creatures. And the designs of these creatures seem a little bit different from the animation. I'm not sure if that's just because the design aspect changed, or because in the animation they were kind of like children at the time, and so the creatures changed with time as they grew up. I don't know, I guess that's something we'll have to figure out. There's also this particular shot which has them singing on stage but also with magic, and considering that the end of the Doom's Night animation has, you know, Soobin facing the dragon on the stage in real life, again that magical crossover into the real world, you know, maybe they really are on stage. I don't know, recently in the Frost music video we saw that they brought magic back into the real world, so I'm really interested in seeing what this webtoon does to like bring us further into, you know, that aspect of it, because like how is bringing magic into the real world going to change things, stuff like that. And of course, by the way, it looks like the dragon is still a threat here. That's no surprise, it's been a major antagonist for TXT for a while actually, but there's this amazing scene of them facing off against it, and this image in fact highlights, you know, several of the other like more fantastical changes that TXT have been seen going through previously, like in the Nap of the Star music video. I'm guessing that this dragon scene is like a climax scene of some sort, because as far as we've seen, only Soobin has actually gone and tried to face the dragon without, you know. But the lyrics of some of TXT's songs kind of indicate that they have to do it together, like as a group. So anyways, the Starseekers webtoon will be released on January 17th, 2022. And despite the fact that this was announced first and I'm covering it first, this is actually the last of the release dates that we're going to be covering today. I can't wait. Next, of course, is Dark Moon, the Blood Altar. Dark Moon, the Blood Altar is another one of those stories that we've previously seen before. HYBE, the group confirmed to be collaborating on this, has had several music videos surrounding this particular title. Often depicts them as, you know, boys becoming vampires. It should be mentioned that, you know, while we've only seen HYBE be confirmed as the group that is collaborating with this story, I don't think that that's entirely true. I don't think they're the only ones, and we've gotten hints of this in the past. And this surrounds another announcement that they made during this presentation, which was about the big hit Japan boy group, which they're having auditions for right now, but there are some confirmed members, which all came from the show Island, which was the show that HYBE was formed by. Two of these Japanese boy group members made a cameo in the Drunk Dazed music video, which is confirmed Dark Moon with HYBE content, and in it they were the werewolf rivals, which are a part of this webtoon. It's described as a teen romance, which just makes me think of Twilight a little bit. These vampire boys who are HYBE meet this girl with a secret, and they also have like friendships and confrontations with these like werewolf boys, which again we've seen to be the Japanese boy group rumored to be called And Team, and they have like the And auditions. The interesting to note is that the heroine of this story doesn't actually like have an associated group with it, but the other two do. I don't know if we are going to see anyone with that. She might just be a character in the webtoon. Frankly, I think that there's not a lot of female representation in HYBE right now, and I would personally love to see like a solo artist come out, a female solo artist, and like represent that somehow. I don't know how realistic that actually is, but I would like to see it. But she does seem to be like a major part of the story. She's described as having the strongest abilities and a secret, of course, always a secret. I don't know, we've possibly seen her before in like HYBE's Drunk Dazed music video, as I said, and we actually get like a callback to one of the images that we saw in the Drunk Dazed music video where like the woman was standing pouring blood down. Looked like a scene where they're turning into vampires. There's like this moon shape behind them. We kind of see that in one of these images as well, so again, probably tied directly to that. Definitely tied directly to that. Again, I don't know how recognizable she was supposed to be there, and we get the scene with, you know, the girl knocking on the door, but we never see her face. So they've clearly cast someone in this role already, but whether or not this is just for the story reasoning or if they're actually going to debut as an artist is a totally different thing. But like I said, I want to see it. In the other images though, it kind of adds to like the school feel that we've already seen a few times before, especially in the most recent music videos, and it also seems to continue to feature rugby, which makes me wonder if this is like not only a fantasy story, but also a sports-based one. I'm thinking like Haikyuu, but like with a melding of different genres, you know? It's important to note that like HYBE's story up till now has a lot of focus on alternate dimensions and traveling through wormholes, and of course them turning into vampires, and not so much a focus on like the school and modern day rugby thing that's going on, and very little is known about like the werewolves and the girl, since they've only appeared a handful of times. So yeah, I'm interested in seeing like how that's gonna unfold and how it's all gonna come together. By the way, just like as a note of interest, earlier in the year HYBE trademarked several different names for the Dark Moon, one of which was of course the Blood Altar, which we see here today, but also it was Dark Moon, the Grey City, and the Korean translated version of Dark Moon, and then something about the surface of the moon or the foundation of the moon. I could see either of these being related to the werewolf or the girl, so we might get like a sequel or a spin-off to this webtoon like later down the line, of course, possibly either featuring a different point of view or just as a like continuation of the story. Like there might be different movements, you know, different acts. As for right now though, Dark Moon, the Blood Altar releases a day before the Starseekers on January 16th, 2022. Crimson Heart. Crimson Heart is an interesting story. So far it has no release date. It's the only one I'm talking about here now that does not have one, nor does it have a group that was announced with it. Not surprising since, like I said, there's a huge lack of female representation in HYBE right now. However, the existence of it basically proves that there's going to be a girl group debuting probably in the next year that will be embodying the characters of this webtoon. It does look like there's probably 6 members of the group, if counting is any indication. Also, I just wanted to interject because this video was filmed like the day after everything was dropped. But I did want to say that I think it has to do with Adore, which is like the new label that came out under HYBE, and it's run by Min Hee-jin, who is originally from SM, versus like, you know, possibly being Island 2. Just wanted to say that. But that's kind of all we really know. The story itself does seem to take place in a dystopian-like setting in a controlled city called Refugia, which does seem to be based off of the word refuge. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some like history there, because it does look like there's like a dome protecting the city in one of the backgrounds that we see. So it makes me think like, oh, maybe it was a city that was protecting them from like the more harsher environments and it became a refuge, but then as time went on it developed into a more controlling like city, because several times it is described as being perfect, like, oh, it's a perfect system, as it feels like there's like a sense of like control there, you know? Also, it's described as being cut off from a land called Unknown, which, in comparison to the city, assuming that this is what it is, it looks very vibrant and a little bit reminiscent of the Magic Island that we see in the Starseekers story, and it very well might be the same thing, not sure. The story of it, though, is that the girls discover a book in the library and a red necklace, and they set off on an adventure to what is described as a strange world. I do think that this strange world might be tied to parallel universes. I'm not entirely sure. It's not described how they get there or where they go exactly. They might just be venturing off into these strange worlds away from Refugia, but it does look totally different from the place that they were apparently raised. And we also get images of them like fighting these like demon-like creatures. I don't know how else to describe them. This one looks like it's like a torso on top of like another circle with an eye, so also they're battling it, so I'm loving that for us, you know? They didn't give us a reason why, but they seem to be searching for the Island of the Blue Fireflies. I assume this is something they discovered in the book. It's also not clear how the red necklace plays into it. I do have this weird feeling that it has something to do with like the society in general, like they're looking for some reason, something to like revive society or to like, you know, be anti-establishment. Oh, is that a word? It's a really interesting take though, because it's really similar to like, you know, the island is like a similar thing to Magic Island. The blue fireflies are similar to the blue butterflies, although I have a feeling that the power of them are completely different. I'm kind of also hoping that it doesn't feature time travel. A lot of HYBE stories feature time travel. BTS's original story Save Me features time travel. TXT's story features time travel. ENHYPEN's story features something. So it'd just be nice to have a story that like is a little bit more linear and doesn't focus so much on like, wow, we're gonna go back in time and fix things. And like G-Friend's story also was like them going back and trying to fix their friendships over and over and over again. So I just kind of want to see something a little bit different, and it does look like this has the potential to be something that's not focused on time travel, which is great. And of course, I did say that I wanted more female representation, and they look really cool. They seem like they get to fight and do their own thing and like have power, which is just really nice to see. And of course, I'm excited about the new group, and I'm interested in seeing like what kind of music they're gonna do, what they're bringing to the table overall. Yeah, as I mentioned, no release date yet, But I'm sure we'll get more information about that, especially when the group eventually also gets announced. Also, I do want to throw in just a quick thing. When we were talking about trademarks before, there was a trademark that was discovered that is probably related to HYBE. This is not confirmed, and it is mostly just like, you know, a rumor or a possibility for a name. I'm gonna throw it out there though, and that is Rendezvous of Dream Voyagers, or Rendezvous for short. A lot of things get trademarked and then never used, and this is just something that other people have mentioned might be a possibility because it was applied under like several trademarks that you use to trademark idol groups. And it does fit HYBE's current theme, and I could kind of see this like applying to this story, maybe like them traveling like maybe through different dreams. They did mention like a new world, so, but we don't know for sure, and that is just speculation, possibility. Definitely not saying that's definitely what's gonna happen or anything like that. Just wanted to throw it out there as, you know, maybe this could be the name of the girl group. I don't know. Anyways. Finally, this brings us to the final webtoon that was announced. 7FATES Chakho. Sorry for the sudden change in background, by the way. Something came up, so I had to pause filming and go. This is a new story featuring BTS, and a totally different setting from BTS's previous story and webtoon, Save Me. Similarly to Dark Moon, this story has a subtitle, which is of course Chakho, but the main title is 7FATES. And if we peek back over to those trademarks again, we'll see that 7FATES and Chakho were actually trademarked under different names, so I'm assuming 7FATES will probably be like a series, and Chakho is just like the first of the series. This is my own speculation though, so take it with a grain of salt. Chakho is described as an urban fantasy, inspired by tiger and bear hunters that existed in the Joseon dynasty. They were called chakhokapsa, which is where the title obviously got its name. These original chakhokapsa were highly trained hunters sent out to kill the tigers that would, at the time, terrorize villages. They were said to be so skilled that they could hit their target from atop of a horse. This is a reinterpreted story between the bears and the tiger, the bom hunters. And bom, by the way, is not the same as the tigers that we see now in today's world. It's instead more inspired by the bom in folklore and mythology. Hence why, if you take a look at the art, they've been totally reimagined. The story itself features 7 boys, 7 fates, who are bound together by destiny after tragically losing their loved ones to an attack by the bomb. It seems that in order to take a revenge, they have to do a variety of different things depending on the situation. The boys themselves described a couple different situations for us, like surviving in a den of bomb, or somehow disguising themselves as bomb. Honestly, this story is really refreshing. I like the more like mythology, Korean folklore takes on it. And the setting is apparently in the future, but also has elements that were taken from the past. And, you know, mythology, folklore inspired stuff. And this includes, you know, some more well-known ones like goblins as well. The design for this whole webtoon just feels so interesting and like new and just uniquely Korean in a way that I really hope will vibe well with a lot of the international audience who might not know the mythology behind it, including myself. I had to look a lot of this up. I don't know, I just really think it'll enrich the story and the people who are reading it, because like it'll help like enrich our knowledge and like bring different culture into a genre like fantasy, which is primarily overrun with a lot of Western themes, at least in extremely popular media. Anyways, 7FATES Chakho releases the earliest of the 3 webtoons on January 15th, 2020.
This year has clearly been too long because I meant to say 2022.
Anyways, they also just released like a 30-minute CCTV video with stuff going on, and people found a bunch of hints including like coordinates, and I think it's related to Chakho, but I haven't like looked into that yet, so just like a heads up that exists. What of these stories is your favorite? What are you looking forward to the most? Will you be reading them when they drop? Because I know that I'm going to be reading them. I assume it's just going to be like a couple chapters at the most that drop on the first day and not the whole series. But yeah, I'm very excited for this, and there's just a lot of different ways that they can go about all these stories. I really blend into the background, don't I? Oh well. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it and it helped you out, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe because of course I will be following these stories and I will be doing theories in the meantime for other music videos that come out within the HYBE universe, so make sure you follow for that. All of my social media is linked in the description below in case that's something that you're interested in following, and I want to give a shout out to my patrons over on Patreon. Thank you guys so much for your support. As it is, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay sunny, everyone. Bye!